Flight 19, 1945. The disappearance that defined the Bermuda Triangle. For centuries, one region of the Atlantic Ocean has captured humanity's imagination with a unique blend of fear, fascination, and unanswered questions. A place where ships vanish without warning, where aircraft disappear from clear blue skies, and where even modern science struggles to provide satisfying explanations. This region is known as the Bermuda Triangle. Many stories have been told about it, some exaggerated, some misunderstood, and some undeniably real. But among all the mysteries connected to this infamous stretch of ocean, one event stands above the rest, one disappearance so strange, so well documented, and so deeply unsettling that it transformed the Bermuda Triangle from a sailor's rumor into a global legend. This is not the story of an ancient ship lost to time, nor the tale of a lone explorer who vanished without witnesses. This is the story of 5 U.S. Navy aircraft, 14 trained men, and a routine training mission that never came home. This is the story of Flight 19. A calm afternoon in post-war America. On the afternoon of December 5, 1945, the world was slowly emerging from the shadow of World War II. The war had ended just months earlier. America was victorious, but exhausted. Millions of soldiers were returning home, and military bases across the country were transitioning from combat operations to training and preparation for a new, uncertain peace. At Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale in Florida, the atmosphere that day was calm and ordinary. The weather was clear, the sea was relatively calm. Visibility was good. There was nothing in the sky or on the horizon to suggest that history was about to change. Shortly after 2 p.m., 5 U.S. Navy TBM Avenger torpedo bombers were prepared for takeoff. These were large, powerful aircraft designed for combat, but on this day, they carried no weapons. The mission was simple: a routine navigation training exercise known as Navigation Problem Number 1. The flight plan involved 3 basic steps. Fly east from Florida over the Atlantic Ocean. Practice bombing runs over a shallow water target known as Hens and Chickens Shoals. Turn north, then return west back to base. It was a flight that had been completed countless times before. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, nothing mysterious. The men of Flight 19. The leader of Flight 19 was Lieutenant Charles Carroll Taylor, a veteran pilot with over 2,500 hours of flight experience. He had flown combat missions during the war and was considered capable, though some records suggest he was occasionally disoriented during navigation exercises. Alongside him were 4 other Avenger crews, composed of young pilots and crewmen, most in their early 20s. They were trained, confident, and eager to prove themselves in a post-war Navy. In total, 14 men took part in the mission. For them, this flight was not a legend in the making. It was just another training exercise on a clear December afternoon. At approximately 2:10 p.m., one by one, the 5 Avengers lifted off from the runway and headed east, disappearing into the blue sky over the Atlantic. Trouble begins over. Open water. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. The pilots practiced their bombing runs. Radio communications were routine. The aircraft remained in formation. Then, shortly after 3 p.m., something changed. Lieutenant Taylor radioed back with a troubling message. "I think we must be off course." At first, instructors on the ground assumed this was a minor navigation issue. Such problems were not uncommon during training flights. But then Taylor made a second, far more alarming transmission. "Both my compasses are out, and I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale." The compass failure was critical. In 1945, navigation over open ocean relied heavily on magnetic compasses and dead reckoning. Without reliable instruments, even experienced pilots could quickly become lost. As radio operators listened in, confusion spread across the airwaves. Taylor believed he was flying over the Florida Keys. Ground controllers insisted he was actually east of Florida, over the Atlantic. Both sides were certain. Both could not be right. Voices of confusion and fear. As minutes passed, The radio transmissions became increasingly tense. Some of the younger pilots questioned Taylor's decisions, suggesting alternative directions. One voice was heard saying, "If we just fly west, we'll get home." But Taylor disagreed. He feared flying west would take them deeper into the Gulf of Mexico. Instead, he ordered the flight to head northeast. That decision would seal their fate. Fuel levels were dropping, clouds were forming. The sun was beginning its slow descent toward the horizon. At around 5 p.m., Taylor transmitted one of the most chilling messages ever recorded in aviation history. "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall is made." Ditching an Avenger in rough seas was extremely dangerous. Survival chances were slim. Still, the pilots stayed with their leader. Then, as darkness approached, the final transmission came through. "When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." Shortly after 7 p.m., radio contact with Flight 19 was lost. They were never heard from again. The largest search in U.S. naval history. Within hours, the Navy launched an emergency search operation. Planes were dispatched, ships were sent out, Coast Guard units joined the effort. One of the search aircraft, a PBM Mariner flying boat, took off later that evening with 13 men aboard. 20 minutes after departure, it vanished from radar. A nearby oil tanker reported seeing an explosion in the sky and a burning slick on the ocean surface. The Mariner was never found. In total, 27 men disappeared that night. Over the next 5 days, the Navy searched more than 300,000 square miles of ocean. Not a single piece of wreckage was conclusively identified as belonging to Flight 19. No bodies were recovered. No debris field was located. It was as if the aircraft had vanished into thin air. Official explanations and lingering doubts. The U.S. Navy initially concluded that the aircraft were lost due to navigational error and fuel exhaustion. Later reports softened the language, calling the incident a tragic accident caused by confusion and bad judgment. But many questions remained unanswered. Why did all 5 compasses fail? Why did experienced pilots follow a course that took them farther from land? Why was no wreckage ever found? Over time, Flight 19 became a cornerstone of Bermuda Triangle lore. Some researchers pointed to magnetic anomalies, suggesting that unusual variations in Earth's magnetic field could interfere with navigation instruments. Others blamed weather phenomena, such as sudden storms or rogue waves capable of swallowing aircraft without a trace. Still others proposed more controversial ideas. Time distortions, electromagnetic vortices, even extraterrestrial involvement. While these theories captured public imagination, none could be proven, and yet the mystery endured. Separating myth from reality, skeptics argue that the Bermuda Triangle is no more dangerous than any other heavily traveled region of ocean. They point out that thousands of flights and ships pass through the area safely every year. They emphasize human error, miscommunication, and the limitations of 1940s technology. And they may be right, but Flight 19 remains different. Unlike many other disappearances, this one was recorded in real time, documented through radio transcripts, witnessed by multiple parties. It was not a rumor passed down through generations. It was a modern mystery, preserved in official records. And that is what makes it so unsettling. A legacy that refuses to fade. Today, nearly 80 years later, Flight 19 continues to fascinate historians, pilots, and mystery enthusiasts around the world. Books have been written, documentaries produced, theories debated endlessly. But the men of Flight 19 remain missing. No graves, no closure. Only questions drifting over the Atlantic. Their disappearance did more than create a legend. It forced humanity to confront the uncomfortable truth that even in an age of technology and training, nature, and perhaps something more, can still defy our understanding. Closing thoughts. The story of Flight 19 is not just about the Bermuda Triangle. It is about uncertainty, about trust and leadership under pressure, about how easily order can dissolve into chaos when familiar tools fail. And perhaps most of all, it is about how some mysteries endure not because they are supernatural, but because they are human. Human decisions, human fear, human limits. And somewhere beyond the horizon, beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean, the final chapter of Flight 19 may still be waiting to be discovered, or it may remain forever lost, silent, unanswered, and unresolved. Suggest next part. But before we leave the waters where Flight 19 vanished, there is one more shadow waiting just beneath the surface of this story. Because nearly 3 decades before 5 Navy aircraft disappeared into the Atlantic night, the sea had already claimed something far larger. In 1918, at the height of World War I, the United States Navy lost its single largest non-combat vessel without firing a single shot. Her name was USS Cyclops. She was not a small patrol craft. She was a massive naval cargo ship, over 540 feet long, carrying 309 crew members and passengers. More lives than Flight 19, more steel, more certainty, or so it seemed. The Cyclops departed from Barbados bound for Baltimore, carrying a full load of manganese ore. Her final message was calm, routine, almost casual. No distress call, no warning of trouble, and then silence. No wreckage was ever found, no bodies recovered, no confirmed explanation. The ship vanished along a route that would later become infamous, a route cutting directly through what we now call the Bermuda Triangle. Some blamed structural failure, others whispered about storms that left no trace, but many could not ignore the pattern: a heavily traveled sea lane, experienced crews, modern vessels for their time, and complete disappearance. Flight 19 may have defined the legend, but USS Cyclops may have written its opening chapter. In our next episode, we will journey back to 1918, to a world at war, to a ship that should never have vanished, and to a mystery so vast, so unsettling, that the U.S. Navy would later admit, the cause of the loss of the USS Cyclops is unknown. Before planes fell silent over the Atlantic, before compasses spun without reason, the ocean had already taken its first great secret. And once you understand what happened to the Cyclops, Flight 19 may no longer feel like an isolated tragedy. It may feel like a warning,